Welcome back to the Frame Rate Podcast.
Oh! I just wanted to see how bright it was. I'm on the other end.
For our audio listeners, we are now blind.
I flashbanged myself.
We hope all of you have had a splendid week. And we are so happy that you're here to listen to us again. This episode will be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
I hope so.
Because unlike last episode, we're prepared.
We have something to talk about.
I
Which rarely is a thing nowadays.
think it's only happened twice,
Well, yeah, but
but it happens.
thank goodness for Star Wars month. You know,
So much stuff to talk about.
Somebody hadn't deleted our Google Doc.
No, they didn't need to know that.
We had it all lined down.
We don't. We can move on.
We can't move on. I don't know what
Tristan,
I'm moving on to.
Tell them what we're talking about.
Today we're talking, well, I took a different route, but we're apparently doing overhyped and underhyped, but I didn't know that was different than underrated and overrated. So we made a list of movies that are both of those, but mine are different in the definition than Trevor's.
So more broad discussion. It's perfect.
So I'll give you my definition in
Of-
reaction of the overrated and underrated in reaction to your movies, and I expect the same for you for mine.
But like with the
But
over
vice
and
versa,
under
yeah.
hyped.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how good you are at improv.
Jazz hands.
Anyways, I guess I'll start us off. My number one underrated movie is a movie that everyone I've showed it to says that they hate, and that is Big Trouble in Little China.
Why do you think people say they hate it?
Because it's a terrible movie. To me, it's not. I actually really love the movie. I think it's hilarious.
I have never seen it, so I can't provide a
I will-
good opinion on
I will
this.
show it to you sometime. It is quite hilarious. It's like if Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like that kind of level of like stupidity
Mhm.
in its humor, meets like Hollywood action. It was made in, I think it was made in the 80s. It has Kurt Russell as the main character, and his character is a semi driver who gets caught in Little China, in Chinatown. I think it's in like San Francisco, and yeah, a bunch of supernatural stuff happens, like that, like Shaolin kind of like stuff, like lightning and guys float. Like think of Mortal Kombat. It's like if a semi-truck driver was put in Mortal Kombat. That's the movie. I think it's a great movie. My dad thinks it's a great movie. My brother, I think he thinks it's a great movie. My mom hates the movie. Grace thinks it's the worst movie to ever exist. And when I was coming up with this list, I was like, what movie should I put? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, how about this one? And she's like, Tristan, you can't talk about that one.
Grace, skip forward.
It's a great movie. I know that doesn't probably open up for a lot of dialogue,
No, because I haven't seen it.
but it's just corny.
Is there anyone other than Kurt Russell in it?
Not that I know of. That's a big name and a bunch of Chinese people. But
Okay.
it's like Chinese people in the 80s, so.
So is
Not-
Jackie Chan in
No.
the movie?
That's my point. Let me see here. Big Trouble in Little China. Look, there it is. Cast. Came out in 86. Okay, I want you to tell me if you know any of these characters. Okay. Kurt Russell.
Uh-huh. My mom's childhood crush.
Dennis Dunn.
Heard the name.
Victor Wong,
Mm-mm.
James Hong,
Yes.
Kim Cattrall,
Mm-mm.
Susie Pie.
Is that not a pet name?
No, that's the female, like one of the female main characters.
Oh. Nope.
Carter Wong,
No.
Peter Kwong. I'm
I
being
think,
serious.
I think I get the point here.
Al Leong,
Uh-huh.
Donald Lee.
I've heard of Donald Lee. I think I have.
I could keep going.
You don't have to.
Anyways, it's a funny movie. I think it's thoroughly. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's like one of those childhood movies where you, like, I don't know. I'm sure everybody has them, right? Where in like all reality, it's just a terrible movie, but because you grew up watching it, it's like your
The
comfort movie.
nostalgia ties make it
Yeah.
just special to you.
Yeah, but that's my first one. That's
Well, like you asked me to do, to talk about how it's underrated. I have no rating, meaning it can only go high from here. Only go up.
it's the ultimate underrate because
Yeah.
it's
The
never been-
non-viewing.
yeah. What about you?
Well, my first underhyped movie, my definition of underhyped would mean that people can still universally agree that this movie is really good. It could even have some awards, but I feel like it's not talked about enough,
Mm-hmm.
at least in our space of talking about it. My first one is Rango. I love Rango.
I think I've only seen Rango like maybe once or twice.
The very first time I watched it was when I was like 7. We had gotten it on Redbox, and like the whole family was watching it, but it got to that part right at the beginning where after Rango, his, host family or whatever gets in the wreck, and his terrarium goes careening out of the back of the station wagon, and like he has like a heat stroke, and he sees like that toy fish like floating through the sky. My family, with my parents, were like, "This is weird," and they turned it off. And I had not seen it for probably a good like 12 years
Mm-hmm.
after that happened, and I rewatched it again. I was blown away. That movie, one, animation holds up beautifully.
It's got really good animation.
The voice acting is great. They
Mhm.
actually had the actors act out the movie. They're not just in a booth talking into the microphone. They actually
Right.
have them doing stuff
Right.
just in like a smaller studio space. And that makes everything feel a lot more natural, a lot more real.
Mhm.
It's hilarious.
And I think that's kind of like also become like the new norm, like for animation movies. Some anime, like probably not all of them.
Like what?
There's I couldn't give you any of them off the top. I know the
Are you thinking like motion capture?
no, like there's a lot of times where I see like behind the scenes footage for voice actors, and they're doing stuff like a lot. I mean, my first example is the Super Mario Brothers movie and Jack Black, but I guess that's probably just Jack Black.
Yeah, he
being
just does that. Like, have you seen any of the behind the scenes footage of any of his
Yeah,
voice
that's fair.
recordings for Kung Fu Panda?
That's fair.
He's actually the whole time.
That's fair. Disregard what I said.
No,
Then.
you know what? It's a valid take.
I think I saw Rango maybe once or twice, which I've already said.
We'll need to watch it again.
But
Write that down. Write that down. Write that down.
what was I gonna say? Oh, the reason why I didn't watch it as a kid is because my parents didn't think it was a kids movie.
I mean, it has some deeper themes, I guess, but it's not like it's not. It's like an adult film.
Right. But I don't know. Like it just so I watched it later. But I watched it at like a friend's house, so I didn't really watch it.
Well,
I have probably watched more than half of it off of TikTok clips though. Those guys building the pool in the middle of the Amazon
Yeah.
rainforest.
I mean, it won Best Animated Feature in 2011. So obviously it got talked about enough. But I think
It could deserve a little more.
Bring that thing back.
Yeah, that's a good. That's
No
a good
sequel
point.
though, please.
Yeah,
I don't need that.
Would you like a remaster, or just a re-release?
No, I just want people to talk about it again.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe, more available to more people.
For my next one, underrated. It's actually very disliked, and I never understood why. The original Top Gun.
Yeah, I know that you mentioned a while ago that like that one was very disliked, and I have to say I don't think I've heard people dislike it. I know that you mentioned like in the actual Navy and stuff.
Yeah,
but like
it's. I know. To refresh, you can't quote the original Top Gun in the Navy Flight School or Top Gun. If you do, you get fined. Don't know why. I think that it just brought a lot of I think that was the time. There was a time in the country where they didn't like that kind of public recognition, right? Like they didn't like the fact that they were being represented as goofy, right? Which in reality, they probably all are.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
they're just guys.
well, and from what I've heard from a lot of like buddies that I have that have served, like it's like high school, right? And the pilots of anything are like the jocks, like the high school quarterbacks. Like it's just one big giant boys club, and they're the all-stars. So, but for some reason, like back then, a lot of people didn't like that stuff and didn't like the recognition that Top Gun brought in. And thank goodness that that's changed, because we've gotten a lot of cool movies that have stemmed off of that attitude. But I really, really, really loved the first Top Gun. That's another one of those where it's like it's nostalgic for me. My dad's obsessed with fighter jets. And so that's rubbed off on me and my brother.
Uh-huh.
And that was a movie we always watched. I guess I can also add, there's another movie called Iron Eagle, and it's basically like Top Gun, but the Air Force. It's very rarely talked about. It's a little more goofy.
I've not seen that one.
I like that one too. But for this episode's sake, the original Top Gun, like, gets a lot of flack. A lot of people who watch it because they watched the second
Maverick,
one.
yeah.
Right. And everyone that's ever said that to me, and they're like, it's boring and it's weird. I'm like, well, that's because you don't start with dessert and then go, why isn't the steak sweet? Why doesn't it taste like cake? Like,
yeah.
It's like watching. I can't use that. I was going to
watch a sequel before the original.
I was going to say it's like watching Endgame and then expecting the first Iron Man to be good, but the first Iron Man is probably arguably the best movie. Not a good example, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, not to mention the second movie is like almost 40 years older than the first one. So they're actually filming in the cockpit versus the first one is just a made up cockpit with a green screen behind them.
Uh-huh.
And
still looks really good though.
No, it definitely did really well for its time, but I'm going off on a tangent.
I feel the need.
I liked that movie. It was really good. It's one that I can keep coming back to. And I wish that it would get more love, because
hence the underhyped portion of this episode.
But
now you're getting it. Now you're understanding. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
My next one is actually 3 movies. I think that the whole trilogy of this is underhyped, and that's the Planet of the Apes.
The originals?
They didn't have. That was like way more than a trilogy. I'm talking about
Oh.
Dawn. Oh my gosh.
Age
and War.
Mm.
No, not Age of the Planet of the Apes. The Planet of the Apes trilogy. With
Would you like me to look it
Caesar.
up?
No, I will live in this embarrassment. That's okay.
Oh, I got you.
I watched all 3 of those movies. Obviously now there's a 4th, but like the trilogy with Caesar. I watched those for the first time maybe a year ago. I had not seen any of them. It was on Hulu, and I didn't have Hulu and all that. But
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
yes,
Dawn
Rise,
of the
Dawn,
Planet.
and War.
And then War. And now Kingdom.
Yes, Kingdom.
What a
obviously-
wonderful day.
Yeah, that one's really good too. Honestly, I think it should have won the VFX Oscar, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Rise,
Recognition.
Dawn, and War.
Well, and I can say that they definitely deserve more recognition because I've never watched them.
You really should.
I've heard
They're
really
a
good
lot of fun.
things.
There was one time I was at this group event, and this one guy, they were like, at one point they had someone, they had kind of like a mini talent show thing happening, and they had like one guy came up and he was doing balloon animals, and this was at the time that Kingdom had come out, maybe like a month before, and so a lot of people were still like loving the Planet of the Apes movies, and we're all. But he went up to the stage and he was like, "Should I make a giraffe or a monkey?" And like everyone that was there was like, "Monkey, monkey, monkey, make a monkey!" And so he like plays some music and he makes a balloon animal. He makes a monkey. When he's done, he like holds it up, and like so many people, mostly guys, in the crowd. After he held up the completed balloon monkey, everyone's going like this, because to help. In the first movie, Caesar gets taken and put with a bunch of other apes, but he's the only one that's intelligent. All of the other ones are just like regular as we know them, but they had one orangutan that knew sign language, and he was a little bit more intelligent, and he was trying to formulate a plan to help everybody get out of the place that they were in, and he grabbed like a stick. He's like ape alone, and he breaks it like weak. And then he grabs like a bunch of them. He's like, but ape together, and he doesn't break, strong. And so once the apes are kind of like ruling their parts of the world, like that becomes like a symbol for apes, like ape together strong. They just do this all the time. So after that guy held up that monkey, everyone's I was dying in the back. Ape. I honestly, if you're ever in the mood, I will happily rewatch those with you.
I would love to watch them.
Honestly, let's just keep this list we've got for the ones that we haven't seen. And that could be a plan.
Yeah, you can show me those great cinematic masterpieces, and I will show you Big Trouble in Little China.
This episode, we're talking.
I wonder what
Callback
Big Trouble in
episode.
Little China's even rated. I'm curious. I think the last time I checked that, Scott had like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me see here.
Back to Big Trouble in Little China, everybody.
Rotten Tomatoes.
I just went ape.
Actually, it's got good.
Actually.
It's got an 82% audience score and a 73 Tato-meter score. That's impressive.
That's a good movie.
Because it's not.
Well, I look forward to watching it then.
Yeah, it's not. It's like, it's pretty dumb. But it's good.
Okay. What's your next one, Tristan?
Well, my next two are movies that we've kind of already talked about. One is a fully fledged episode that we've made.
Still can bring it up.
I will. But I do want to bring up The Goonies. I actually think
Is that not the same?
Huh?
Never mind, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Huh?
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay. I actually don't know if this one's like I think it's underrated. But I don't know if it's actually underhyped or overhyped.
I think it has its like, it's a cult classic.
Yeah.
It has its group of people that really, really like it.
And you see merch for it everywhere, especially nowadays. Like
It's an iconic
the skull and the
from the
never say die. Like,
yeah.
But I don't know if I know a lot of people who have actually seen The Goonies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I think that in order, especially nowadays, and I think this kind of just for Big Trouble in Little China and for anything post, like anything pre like 95, like you really have to have parents who were into movies and watched these movies for you to have watched the movies, right?
Uh-huh.
Like there's a lot, because a lot of the movies that like there's a certain genre. This is a tangent. There's a certain genre of movies that
Okay,
are
we
like
got time.
that are like big and popular right now, right? And this is actually a beef that I've actually wanted to talk about for a while, because, and I know I've brought it up to you and other people like off this set, but I'm actually very exhausted with movies nowadays because none of them seem original and like fresh to me, right? Versus like when I watch the movies that my dad grew up watching, like my dad has shown me like movie after movie after movie that he's watched, and I'm like, this is great. How do we get Hollywood to go back to this? Like, have you ever seen Uncle Buck or Down Periscope or The Goonies or Big Trouble in Little China or like all that stuff? Anything with John Candy in it, anything with Chris Farley, like they made really good movies, like just across the
You know
board.
what I think? You know what I like? Obviously, this is definitely not the actual answer, but to me, I think part of the reason why like movie magic is kind of dwindled and lost a bit. To me, like obviously, if we're comparing things like pre-95 to now,
Mhm.
I think film grain, the way that movies looked back then, just adds something. You feel like I don't know if this just is gonna make me sound weird, but I feel like I can almost smell it.
Yeah, no,
Just
that's
how like the movies looked back then. Obviously, frame size was a lot smaller. They were intended for, stockier televisions
Mhm.
and for, not as big movie screens. Remember when you'd have DVDs that you could watch it in widescreen?
and
or-
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I can add on to that, I also feel like because they didn't have like very good editing and post and like CGI and all that stuff, like they had to get really creative,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, I know that we just touched on Star Wars, right? But almost every single prop from the original movie is all just practical props that George Lucas and his team of engineers were like, oh.
It's small. Put a camera through here.
What if I take this Gillette razor and we make it the most crucial thing to show up in every single piece of Star Wars post this? Right? Or like
I saw my wife shaving her legs, and I was like, I think I could talk to someone else with that.
I don't know. I just feel like because they were limited so much by their technology that they had to get really creative. And so that offered movies to like, branch out like, oh, well, we want to make this cool and exciting. We're going to push it, right? And nowadays, like, we're just stuck with CGI and everything kind of looks boring.
Yeah, I mean, like, at the same time, this is definitely a conversation that, our children will end up having about our movies compared to theirs.
I hope so.
Like, they're going to be watching, like, the original Cars, and they're going to think it's way better than what probably is a better movie and looks fantastic, feels great, sounds great. Technically, much better movie. But they're like, there was something about that tow truck. So, like I think that this is just going to be a universal experience, because I bet like our parents, when they were looking at like It's a Wonderful Life compared to Top Gun, like it just doesn't feel as magical because
That's
like
fair.
they used to have just flat boards that they painted, and that was the city
Yeah.
behind them. And
It's a fair argument. I don't know.
I mean,
I
I just like everything you're saying is still valid. But I just bring up a
that's
thought
just
I had.
something. That's just something that like. It's just a general quarrel, and I actually kind of want to have I do want to have a fully fledged episode on this because it's something that I'm actually very passionate about, and not just like 80s oldies versus new movies, but just like things like problems that I
movie magic.
have with movies and our constant our constant push to make them real. We're straying we're getting more and more boring. I don't know. But with the oldies, I just like my final thing. I just feel like they had to get creative, and the storylines that they have there are just like miles better than the stuff that we get now. And I don't know. I obviously can sit down and kind of figure out some actual factors that I think play into that, but that's just my thing. But The Goonies is a great movie, right? I think I wish that more people our age and younger would sit down and watch the movies.
Yeah.
Like The Goonies, especially The Goonies, because you don't really get that kind. I guess you kind of do in Stranger Things, right?
That's probably the closest thing we have to it currently.
Yeah, but
it's not as, it's a different vibe altogether, but like it is about friends.
it's the same. Yeah, right. That's where I'll leave that.
Like I'm sure that like Stranger Things is inspired by Goonies. In some form or
well,
fashion.
my dad, the Hardy Boys.
Mhm.
That's my dad was talking to me and Grace the other day why he likes the Goonies and why he has come back to it and enjoyed it and why he fell in love with it in the first place. And that's because he was really into the Hardy Boys, like the books.
Yeah.
And he's like, this movie is just like a Hardy Boys novel made into a movie, right? And I wish that there were more like that, like Scooby-Doo or like the Goonies or Stranger Things, right? Where it's just like brings back the fun and magic of having friend groups that go out and do stuff instead of what me and my friends did and play Xbox on the weekends, right?
Yeah. They'll make a movie about that sometime.
That'll suck.
That'll be the live action Halo movie. It's just kids playing Xbox on the weekend.
Yo, bro, I'm about to down this fourth 12 pack of Mountain Dew. Dog, it's only 10:30. I know. I've got another one.
I'm behind.
Anyways,
What do you say we move on to our overhype?
I like that. Go ahead. Start us off on this one.
Oh, okay. What do I have written down?
Start us off with the one that I will just.
I guess this would also fit within your definition of overrated. My first one is The Greatest Showman. It'll be really tough for me to put in coherent phrases, but I despise this movie.
Why?
I will first off say before anybody I personally know listens to me say this and gets after me, I think that the music is great. It sounds really good. However, to my personal interpretation, the plot means nothing to me. It just feels really convoluted. They start the whole movie with P.T. Barnum, right? And his girl, obviously I can't remember all the names of all the characters because I refuse to watch this movie willingly. Being kept from one another,
young and
they
in love.
sing a song about it. And then jump cut to the future. The whole like parents keeping her from means nothing. They got together, they overcame it. Sing another song. And then
They do.
And
Zac
then-
Efron's in it.
P.T. Barnum is a terrible person. He's an awful human being. He looks at these people that have abnormalities like, you're weird. Come on over here.
My favorite P.T. Barnum story that they don't show in the movie is how he tried to sew a monkey and a fish together to make a fish monkey hybrid.
I have been, in my life, I've been to a Barnum and Bailey circus. I've been to a show. It was when I was like maybe 5. I can barely remember it. I only really remember watching an elephant paint. But like, I guess this is kind of a side note, but it's still part of it. I think it's so funny that Barnum and Bailey went out of business the same year that Greatest Showman came out. That was probably supposed to save the circus. Truthfully, when I was watching this movie, I felt more emotionally connected to all of the people that were part of the circus that were not well-known actors. Like when the theater is ablaze, I did not feel remorse at all. And obviously, with the whole like, affair thing with Rebecca Ferguson's character and P.T. Barnum and whatever, obviously it's like all supposed to be like twisted. So like the wife, it sees it all differently, but like could have done a lot of things different. And like at one point, they're like struggling to like maintain funds, and next thing you know, they're invited to England by the Queen. How? I
Just
cannot.
seems to me
I
like
cannot
you
enjoy
are
this movie.
anti-fun, because that's what this movie was.
It can be fun, but it also is bad.
It
Hence,
was fun.
Big Trouble in Little China. I'm sure that movie's fun, but come from your own mouth, it sucks. It's dumb.
Fair.
I am rubber, you are glue. Whatever you say. Yeah, and yada yada. And I think another big part of it was like when it came out, I was in like late middle school, and everybody listened to the music and played it all the time, to the point that it definitely got annoying. And that only further drove my distaste for the movie, because I was just sick of hearing it all the time.
Which brings me to mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Hercules. I hate that movie for the exact same reason.
Plot?
No, the fact that it was overplayed so much to the point that I was like, when it would come on, I'd be like, jerk the wheel. All my friends, let's play Hercules. I'm going to drive this car off the road. Sorry, continue on The Greatest Showman.
Oh, no, it was onto yours.
It just brought up, that's the same reason why I don't like Hercules. Not necessarily because of the plot, because I don't think I've watched enough of Hercules to be like, wow, this is great. But
I would suggest you watch it again, because I really, really like that
I would suggest
movie.
that you would watch The Greatest Showman again.
I've seen it 4 times now. It's only gotten worse each time. Obviously, I should go into it with an open mind, but I've done that 4 times now.
Yeah, I don't like Hercules. I think, I don't know. When I was making these lists, Grace told me, when I was asking her for help and like things that I've said to her, because I just do that. My brain's on autopilot. I'm like, this sucks. Just as I pass by things. I was like, what are movies that I think are overhyped? And she was like, I don't know, anything Disney makes. And I got to thinking, and I was like, that's really just true. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen enough of Hercules. I know the story. I went to school.
Danny DeVito is in the movie.
Listen, that's a good case.
He can't say anything. No retort.
But I don't. It's
My
not
mind
even,
has changed.
It's not even that I think it's a bad movie. It just was like in high school, my friend group was about half girls, and coming from a really
What was
small
the other half?
dogs, no, guys.
They were my dogs.
They loved that, and we would play that stuff all the time at our stupid like dances. One of the slow dances would be the I have often dreamed.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I could see how that would shape your opinion.
I don't know why, but like clockwork, it would show up literally in every single dance from the moment I got into middle school to the year I graduated high school. Some girl would be like, you want to dance to this? And I'm like, I'm actually trying to kill myself. I'm actually scratching my ears off my head.
So what I'm gathering from both of our rampages here is that maybe the movies themselves, except for my case, are fine and dandy, but we just hate how much other people love this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I would probably also add, kind of adding on to that, I don't like The Lion King. I think it's got a great storyline.
It's Hamlet.
It's
Shakespeare.
I hated reading Shakespeare.
Well, you could watch it, and they're lions.
That makes it better.
They make fart jokes.
They have a bearded lady sing.
Yeah, she sings great. Like I said, everyone that wasn't Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson, what is it? Nicole Williams, is that her name?
What's your thoughts on Les Mis?
Not seen it. Zendaya and Zac Efron. I was fine with everyone else.
On that movie, I think the part that I liked the most was Hugh Jackman, just because I had never seen Hugh Jackman actually do anything but Wolverine, and I guess The Prestige. But I've never seen like Hugh Jackman was Wolverine, right? Just angry,
for most people.
an angry man. So to see him like just whip out a song and just belt it and be good at singing, I think that's why I liked that movie so much. Is that I hate musicals, and that was one of the first musicals that I was forced to watch, and I was like, this actually isn't terrible.
Can we stop talking about it now?
Yeah.
You can go back to Lion King if you'd like.
I'm not selling this movie for you, Trevor.
No.
Okay. Overhyped. Inception.
You were just talking about Lion King.
No.
Can we keep
No.
talking about that before I blow a gasket?
I'm gonna hit you where it hurts. Inception. Talk about movies that everyone won't shut
Hang
up
on, I'm
about.
muting you for a second. So the people listening and watching,
They can still hear me.
I'm going to step out for a second. But I do want all of you to know, before Tristan says anything, that I appreciate his opinion. It helps make content for this. However, he's wrong about what he's going to say. But you can say your piece. I just won't be a part of it.
Okay, where do I start? It's got a very confusing storyline. I guess that's very general for anything that's made like that. It's got a very confusing storyline. It doesn't end on a happy note. It's got too many things for a brain to keep track of. The only thing that's actually in that movie that I enjoy is the soundtrack. Now, you want to talk about a movie that's really good with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. That's not the Titanic. It is Shutter's Island. But I will digress because I do need my partner back for this show. However, it's not that good of a movie. It's not my favorite. I recognize I'm wrong. I would much rather watch Interstellar. It could be as confusing
Stop.
as Tenet.
No. Inception is my favorite movie of all time.
Leave me alone.
In the editing of this video, I will put over my head right now, intellectual, and over his, a dunce cap. Just kidding. I'm not rude. I will be passionate about Inception until
I will say,
I'll dead and
I
buried.
will rescind part of that statement. I don't think that it's actually a very bad movie. I just think that is a movie that doesn't necessarily capture Tristan's attention very well, and I didn't understand it the first time I watched it, or the second, or the third, and so after that I was like, I'm not gonna understand this movie. I'm gonna stop watching it. I will say it's got a great sound
We're
score.
watching that one together.
Okay.
Anyway, my next one that I think is overhyped is Frozen 2.
Never seen that one.
I've only seen it once,
Came out when I was on my mission.
but it felt like a cash grab when I watched it. Entertaining, beautifully animated.
Have I told you that I
Music
don't like
is good.
Disney?
Yes. Just so interesting. We just had a whole month dedicated to their property.
Yeah, but
But
the only time.
but
Okay. Trevor, what do you poop out of?
anus. Frozen 2 just does not tickle my fancy.
Yeah.
Like I think it's creative,
Mm-hmm.
but like
It's like Moana 2.
it just like the first one ended on a very good and very neutral. Yes, it ended happy ending princess movie. Here come the Oscars and billions of dollars, and it just felt like the second one was made for that purpose,
Yeah.
for the Oscars and the rewards, and
Yeah.
like
I mean, I think that that's my biggest beef with all of Disney right now, but that's a topic for another day.
yeah. I might need to have a solo episode for you for that one because I don't really know.
That's fair.
I don't know how I can bounce off of that
I'm
one.
a little behind enemy lines with my opinions on Disney.
No, it's okay. Disney makes some bad choices.
My final overhyped. I had The Conjuring, but I think I'm just gonna say anything horror. They're not good movies.
You already said that you hate horror.
I know I hate horror movies, but if you watch them from an actual like, is this a good film standpoint? They're all terrible. They're terrible.
Have you ever seen
The things that the people do in there are terrible.
These count. I guess these probably count more as like thrillers than horror, but they have enough horror elements that you could probably quantify them as horror movies. But have you seen A Quiet Place?
Yeah.
And or A Quiet Place.
Yes, I don't consider those horror movies.
Yeah, that's why I was saying like they're more thrillers, but they have
horror aspects, but they weren't made to be like they were made to be scary, but not in the same way that The Conjuring is made.
And have you seen The Others?
Mm-mm.
That's my like I'm kind of with you. Not necessarily that like I think all horror movies are bad. I haven't seen very many of them because I also just don't.
Mm-hmm.
They're just. I'm a coward. There you go.
Yeah.
But
me too.
But The Others I have seen, and that one is really, really great. One of my favorite and most unexpected plot twists of all time.
I mean,
I highly recommend you watch that one. I won't even bother spoiling it for anybody because I think people should go watch that one. I really like that. But again, it's like it just is eerie like the whole time with like horror elements mixed in, but it's not like the spectrum of horror where it's just like demons and gore and constant jump scares and all of that compared to like you have a pit in your stomach and you're sweating because you feel anxious and you're stressed while you're watching it kind of horror. It's like it's more on that end. But I highly recommend you watch it.
I'm trying to think. What is that one? Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to find movies because I don't like. Ooh, that's what it is. Okay. I know it.
Ooh.
So I think that horror movies are overhyped. I've said that before. But I come from a family like how your mom is with Disney. That's my parents with scary movies.
My mom really likes Disney to the point that she is a travel agent
for Disney.
So, you people watching should get your vacations planned for by my mother. But I digress. As you were saying.
That's how my family was with horror movies. We watched so many damn horror movies. I am notorious in my house. Like I am the butt of every joke because anytime there's any suspenseful moment, I naturally don't want to go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody would be like, "Oh, well, Tristan's going to go pee." Yeah. And in the moment I would say, "No, I have something else to do." And they're like, "You're just leaving because it's scary." I'm like, "No, I have to pee." I'm old enough now that I can stand my ground. Yes. You're damn right I did. I had to do anything that wasn't in that living room. But I don't like scary movies. My least favorite scary movies, and if we're going like overhyped.
What are you doing right now?
I'm just going on a tangent. Like that. I'm formulating.
It's here. My thoughts.
Shut up. These horror movies, they were really going off on each other. No, there's just some core horror movies that I think that are especially overhyped that I really don't like. The first one is Smile. Really, I think that is an awful movie, and it teaches the absolute worst message, and that is if you're schizophrenic, you kill people. Like, because it's a terrible message, and me and Grace can tell you everybody about that, how we hate that movie. But there's another movie called Paranormal Activity. I don't know if you've ever heard of those
The most
ones.
profitable movie of all time.
I hate the Paranormal Activity movies. Like, not because I think they're bad, but because I lived in a house that was haunted. And I know that people out there may think that this doesn't exist. I'm here to tell you that it does. I have come home by myself to like doors and cabinets open. I have woken up in the middle of the night with all of the stuff in my bedroom flung about, with every single door and drawer to my dressers open. I have seen shadows walk through the house. I was sitting on a toilet when I was a kid because I stayed home sick and I was crapping my brains out, and I could hear something walking around my house. So then my parents had the bright idea of watching Paranormal Activity, and young Tristan. But
Malleable brain.
there's also a movie called Lights Out, and I hate that one. I hate that one so much. Like, it gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. I hate that movie.
Man, if any of you watching this know Tristan personally, I have some great prank ideas.
I cannot guarantee that I won't hurt you.
Make sure that you're in a safe place first. Viewer discretion advised.
Sorry to go off on
Do
my
not
tangent
flicker
about
the lights
horror
around
movies.
Tristan.
No, I'm
Not-
to the point where I am a 25-year-old man, and when I turn the lights off in our house, I run back to my room as fast as possible, and I slam the door, and I wake my wife. I wake my wife and child up every night because I'm like,
Not my house.
anyways, that was an unnecessary tangent that just
It's very necessary.
struck a little, but I don't like them. And I think that, like clockwork, they come out with new stupid ideas every year. And I think that they just aren't that good. And I think that nowadays horror is getting to the point where they've been recycled so much that people are starting to dive into like really terrible things, right? Like the Smile movie.
The Winnie the Pooh slasher.
I don't like them, and I think that people who do like them are genuine psychopaths. Like, I don't understand how someone can watch something that makes you terrified. Like, I don't know. And I guess I'm the same way. Like,
I think it's just a different type of adrenaline junkie,
yeah, that's a good point.
right? Maybe we both need some exposure therapy.
Hell no. I once punched a guy at a haunted house. A chainsaw guy busted out, and I busted out of his little like outhouse, and I right hooked him. I don't need that kind of exposure.
I signed the waiver that you could touch me. I get touch you. Yeah.
But I'm all for the exposure therapy to The Greatest Showman.
I've been exposed.
Anyways, that concludes my list because it turns out there's a lot of things that I dislike.
That's a funny parallel because I had a really hard time, other than The Greatest Showman, like fully figuring out what I believed was like overhyped, what I felt like people talked about too much, which is why I'm not even going to talk about my last thing, because honestly, I don't even agree with my own thought about it. So
Fair. So thank you for tuning in to this episode. It got a little out of hand when it got to the overhyped section.
you know what? I think that's about what I was honestly kind of hoping.
Yeah,
I wanted good discourse.
we got good discourse. Well, you got to give good discourse, and then when I tried to give you good discourse, you left.
Listen, it's just personal topic.
It's a little too close.
I
to
know
home.
my limits.
I know my truth.
They were singing a song. I know my limits. The tune of Black Betty. I know my limits. Lamb and amp. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Katie, do you have anything you want to say? Katie is asking my sister, who's behind the camera.
Yeah,
currently.
Katie's
She's-
asking his sister. This is how it sounded. Sorry, I'll shut up.
She's asking me to give credit for the idea for this episode. Is that credit enough? Yeah. This was Katie's idea. So if this does really well and goes great, and somehow we end up being monetized for anything for this, I guess a portion has to go to her.